Hello everyone, and welcome to Autocrat. This is episode 57, Choosing Miss Olympus. So now, we left off on a bit of a cliffhanger last week. Hope you didn't mind too much, not sorry about it.
That's so needlessly defiant, I love it.
We had three goddesses scrapping over a golden apple that Ares had chucked into the wedding feast of Peleus and Thetis.
Yeah. Thetis.
They went over to the shepherd Paris, a long-lost son of Priam and Hecate, to adjudicate. It's lovely that we've essentially abandoned the wedding of a couple at their feast.
Yeah, Peleus and Thetis are just sat there looking at the 4 empty chairs going, so are they coming back? Or it's been half an hour. Guys?
It's been 5 days.
The
food is going moldy.
Why are we still here?
Either way, let's get stuck in it again.
Yes.
Each of the three contestants essentially tries to bribe the judge.
So what does each one of them offer?
Well, Hera says that she will make Paris the Lord of Asia and make him wealthy. Athena promised him that she would make him great in warfare and give him great glory. Aphrodite pledged that he would marry the prettiest woman in the world, Helen. Now, keep in mind that she is currently the wife of Menelaus, descendant of the house of Tantalus.
I mean, also, Paris is also married, right?
Yes, he is married to a nymph called Oenone.
Lovely. That won't cause any issues.
Now, which one would you have chosen?
I mean, if we're going to leave out the objectively problematic part about deciding who the prettiest person in the world is and whether they're already married to someone else, you have to choose love, I would think, because, well, wealth and military glory are rather fleeting things.
I guess.
What would you have gone for?
Well, I've got you, so I would have gone for the wealth and we could have been wealthy together.
You're thinking far more strategically than Paris.
There we go. Now, Paris chooses, drumroll, Aphrodite's bribe.
Big surprise.
Meaning the love thing.
Meaning the love of a woman who's already married by someone who's also already married.
Now, I gotta say, this doesn't feel like he's impartial or fair, despite what the gods have been saying.
Well, yeah, he's just handed the apple to whoever he thinks gives him the best bribe. How is that being fair?
Hera and Athena will be hostile to the Trojan as a direct result of this snub, by the way.
Yikes.
Either way, with Aphrodite's blessing, Paris kidnaps Helen.
Yeah, problem solved.
Aphrodite may have fooled Helen by making him look like Menelaus, by the way.
That's terrifying as an implication.
It is.
It's also very King Arthur. You know, Arthur's dad shapeshifting to look like Arthur's mum's husband.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something like that. I think it's Geoffrey of Monmouth. I might put a reference to that in. I might not. We'll see.
Now, there are accounts, like we've said before in the previous episode, that say she may have gone willingly, but either way, she ends up in Troy.
Yep.
Now, how Paris ended up in Greece is an open question.
I mean, yeah, he's got to get there somehow from Troy, where these 3 goddesses have just randomly appeared out of nowhere.
Maybe he used one of those dolphins/horses.
Maybe he borrowed Thetis's dolphin.
He may have accompanied Menelaus back from Delphi when he went to visit it about a famine we're not going to go into.
Fair.
Alternatively, he and Menelaus might have run away to Sparta after he accidentally killed a friend.
Again, not going to go into it.
Either way, it's a big betrayal for Menelaus, as you would imagine.
Well, yeah, the guy travels to your house with you, you think you go through thick and thin, and he steals your wife.
Helen and Paris were married on the island of Crani. Paris went on a honeymoon tour, included Egypt, and ended up in Troy, showing off the treasure he stole from Menelaus along the way. Why didn't they go to Paris? It's literally named after the city.
I assume it's because that didn't exist yet, nor did it have that name.
They could have had a romantic kiss at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower, which definitely existed in, 1200 BC.
Yes.
You know, they did archaeology of it, and actually in Stonehenge, if you look very carefully, there's a small drawing of the Eiffel Tower. With, I visited the Eiffel Tower and all I got was this lousy rock written at the bottom.
Now, Apollodorus just has him sailing to Sparta and being hosted by Menelaus.
I mean, fair, more straightforward than the oracle and the murder thing.
He stays with him for 9 days and then convinces his wife to live with him on day 10. She then abandons her daughter Hermione, no mention of her son, takes most of her possession on board the boat and leaves.
Is Helen a bad mum?
She's struggling.
She abandoned their child.
Maybe she felt forced. Maybe she didn't want the child to be stuck in with a stepdad.
I mean, the child's got a Hogwarts to go to, so, you know...
It's
if
fine.
she moves, she goes out of the catchment area for Hogwarts. It's just difficult.
Wrong world.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Hera sent a storm to force them to land in Sidon. Afraid that the Spartans might be following him, Paris stayed in Cyprus and Phoenicia for quite a while. However, when the coast was clear, he sailed for Troy with his prize. Now, there exists a tradition where Helen did not actually go to Troy.
Right.
This is because Zeus may have created a phantom look-alike and sent the real Helen to Egypt to wait until it all blew over.
Oh, I can imagine Diodorus is thrilled at this point because we mentioned Egypt.
Aww.
Everything's from Egypt. I didn't actually check if he tells this story as well, but I have no doubt that he does.
In fact, Euripides opens one of his plays on Helen with it because Helen tells us this version of event. She also casts doubt on her origin as the daughter of Zeus, by the way.
Okay, that's opening up a huge problem for our continuity, but sure.
Her story goes that Zeus wanted to make Achilles great and bring war to the Greeks. However, Helen did not go to Troy. Hermes bore her off into the clouds while Paris took away a whipsy likeness made of her there. She was then placed in the palace of Proteus so that she would keep her chastity for Menelaus, as the play puts it. However, we're not going to cover it because that's really boring.
Yeah, we're going to stick with the idea that Helen actually went to Troy because it feels a bit like, and it was all a dream if Helen was actually in Egypt the whole time.
Yeah, a bit.
Basic storytelling. You've got to apply Chekhov's gun to Greek mythology, you know?
Sappho attacks the idea that it was a ghost Helen who went to Troy, asking, was the person who told us this really there?
Oh, that's the Sappho as well.
The Sappho?
Sappho of Lesbos.
Oh yeah, true.
So that means she's a new source. Hit the jingle. I know you didn't need to have that in there. It's gonna happen.
It's a sauce, but don't put it on pasta.
Supposedly, Sappho argues that she left Menelaus behind willingly because he was not the most beautiful in her eyes. She chose Paris out of love, or lust, I'm guessing more like.
Yeah, don't worry about which one it is.
Supposedly, she didn't even think about her parents or her family as she left. Yeah, bad mum.
I mean, yeah, Hermione's just on the dock with her teddy bear going, "Where are you going, Mum? Are you coming back?"
And she's like, in a minute, darling.
Just don't worry about it. Stay there and count to 100 and see what happens.
Sappho says whatever is most beautiful is that which a person loves.
So she's basically arguing that because Paris was loved by Helen, he becomes more beautiful than Menelaus in her eyes, so it makes sense that she went away.
In a way, I guess. Anyway, back to the Trojan War.
Yes.
If you remember, there was an oath going around that all the suitors of Helen had to avenge any insult to her marriage.
Yeah.
Well, that comes into play now. Menelaus was furious when he found out.
I mean, yeah, his wife's been taken by, probably by this point, his best drinking buddy.
He went to Agamemnon and asked him to raise an army to attack Troy.
Armageddon.
Armageddon, or Agamemnon, sent letters to the kings of Greece reminding them of the oath they had sworn when Helen's intended was announced. Many were eager, but Odysseus was hesitant, as we saw in episode 55.
Yeah, and all it took to convince him to go to war was nearly killing his child.
In other words, we directly end up with the Trojan War as a result. So, off to war we go.
Ooh. So, that brings us to the end of today's episode, and as my co-host here has pointed out, we've only really got, if anything, one more episode to go before we are in the Iliad.
Ooh.
So until next time, thank you all for listening, and have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week.
It's exciting, isn't it?